If you're watching this right now, we need your help. Yeah, you. As you know, we release the YouTube version of the show every week, every Sunday night. And while we do appreciate the support you guys have given us, we do have a slight problem. And the problem is that we're not getting enough likes on our videos. We got videos that have hundreds of views and only a handful of likes. We got videos that have thousands of views and only a handful of likes. So we're asking you to hit the like button right now before you even watch the video. Why is that? Because YouTube has algorithms, and those algorithms have rules to where it says if a video is not getting enough likes, they bury it. They don't recommend it to other people, and other people cannot find out about the most infamous podcast on planet Earth, Super Duty Tough Work. That, my friends, is why liking videos is so important. Please just hit the like button. We don't ask much of you all, and liking the video is totally free. It goes a long way to ensure that me and Elijah can continue to make content like this. So if you haven't done it yet, hit the like button. If you've done it already, thank you. On with the show.
We got you stuck off the realness, the most infamous, you heard of us. Official podcast murderers, the show comes equipped with viewpoints to share. Grown man ideas for all those who care and wanna grow, so go ahead and download. Every single week with a brand new episode. You're not alone in this world, cousin, so we share information and honest discussion and keep repping the culture like we supposed to. They spread gossip, but they never come close to. I can hear it inside their tone. They talk about the industry, but never left their home. You get laced up with bullet points and such, plus empowering topics that they never would touch. You can put your whole network against the team, but Super Duty Tough Work's the MVP. Most valuable podcast on MP3. Priceless info, but all of it's free. So take these words home and think them through. Super Duty Tough Work is coming at you. You are now listening to Super Duty Tough Work with your host, Blueprint. Raw and uncut. Adult conversations. No shucking, no jiving, and no bullshit.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, at the height of the learning curve, I should say. The learning curve still in effect.
Yeah, we had talked about it a bit because, you know, the streaming thing is so kind of new that, you know, people were just buying up all those interfaces. And most people, when they started streaming during the lockdown, had never done it before. And so you had some people who had been doing it for months, years. It was part of their repertoire. But a lot of people hadn't done it before. And then they're doing it, and the quality's not there, but there's a captive audience. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And now it's not as much as a captive audience. So, like, brothers got to step it up. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree. It's every now and then life just throws you this, like, a curveball, and it's just like, all right, motherfucker, grow.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, go ahead.
And that's a perfect segue to why we here today. You know what I'm saying? The record, which is about basically the curveball. You know what I mean? And so, this record, man, it's a dope record. I told you I listened to it like 5-6 times.
Thank you, brother.
I was cutting grass and chopping down little weeds in my backyard to it. You know, that's when
that homeowner shit right there. I hear you, bro. You know, I always got my ear attuned to that.
Like this
could turn into a real estate episode easy.
exactly. Yeah, man. So I was working to it yesterday, and you know, I got a lot of questions. So I'm gonna break them up. We're gonna do a track by track thing, but I want to start with just like the first thing that I think is significant, which is the production. Right. And you and Stu Bangas getting together. I want to know how you met him, because I learned of him the production websites that do sell like breaks and beats and post videos of producers. So I kind of learned of him from them reposting some of his beats. And so I was wondering, like, where is he from, and how did you guys how did y'all link up?
Bruh, let me tell you, where's Stu from? He threw a couple different locations at me, but he arrived in Boston. That's that's the important part to me. You know, he was places before, but he arrived in Boston. And that's how he came in touch with my music, because, you know, I think he was working for like different, you know, labels and stuff like that in the Boston area during the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, when I was really, you know, like I was still I left Boston and ended up in the Bay Area from like '01 to '04, but I was still in Boston heavy, you know what I mean, and doing shows. I think that was like the era where Stu was like absorbing a lot of my music and stuff like that. But yo, honestly, the way we met, bro, like was on Instagram, man. Like it was like literally I was at church with my little family, you know what I'm saying? And like I, came out the service, happened to like go to IG and just saw that my name had been mentioned in some exchange. And I was just like, and I'm not, a lot of time I'm not on social media heavy like that. So I'm just like, oh, well, what's this about? And Stu's so smart, man. So he makes high volume of beats and they be bangers. You know what I'm saying? He's ill with this. You know what I'm saying? He's a real skilled vet, like pro, you know what I mean? And so he made the beat and he was just like, who do y'all hear on this? And one kid was just like, at the real Mr Lif. So that's how I came in contact with it. So I was like, oh, word, well, let me listen to it. Like, Stu's smart, man. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, let me listen to this. I heard the beat. I was like, what? I was like, this is some heat. So I think at that point, I was like, I hit up Stu, was like, bro, can you email this to me? You know what I mean? and then, we exchanged the emails like that. And ever since, and it's funny enough, that song isn't even on our first album. It's on our second album.
Nice. Okay.
Our second album's about halfway done.
Oh, so y'all still working? You just guys?
Oh no, going. Dog. This is a legacy thing. This is like
dope.
This is gonna be multiple albums.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah. It's dope when people tag you on something that's actually fire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And you benefit like. You be tempted to be like, nah, I'm not gonna check this, but it's like, thank God I did.
Yeah, I get tagged on some shit. I be like, nah, fam.
with your dedicated fans, they claim to know you. They're like, ooh, I've been listening to you for years. I can hear you on this. I'm like,
not really, not so much, bro.
That's so real, bro. That's life of an artist.
Yeah, they hooked you up.
Yeah. They hooked me up, but it has gone wrong so many times.
Yeah. I do have a question too about just like his style of production versus the record. So the record is a concept record, right? There's variation of songs about different topics about this era that we're in, right? And so, but he's a producer that does a lot, like you said, just straight up bangers.
Yep.
How hard was it to resist the temptation to just make straight up bangers?
It was, man, the record was made during a time of great emotion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, everything we're going through, like, COVID is new to all of us. You're wondering, like, hey, are all my finances going to freeze up? Because, I got my rental properties over here. I'm like, I'm looking at it like, like, am I about to have, like, no one paying rent? You know what I mean? There's the uncertainty was thick. And then obviously, with George Floyd, man, talk about I feel like my black skin just like burst into flames, man, like on that, you know what I mean? It was like every bit of trauma that I've like ever had as a black man, all my concerns ever, you know what I mean? Of like the worst things that could happen to me, like got brought right up to the forefront of my mind from seeing that. You know what I mean? And then of course you had the worldwide protests and everything. So to me, there was a point in time where it was like, man, I got a lot of emotions that needed to be processed. And a song that I think about particularly was definitely Now Is Only Now. Yes. It's like, because we had, because at that point in developing the record, we had done Basquiat. We had done, I'm trying to think of what else was finished at that point. I think I had written Shelter in Place, you know what I mean? But I didn't have a final take on it yet. I'm not sure exactly what else was done, but like we were deep enough into the process. I would say we were at least mid-process when I was like, you know what? I had a couple of days where I was just personally feeling down and reflective, especially due to my family situation, being separated from my wife and my son.
Yeah.
And I hit up Stu, was like, bruh, do you have any like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know I don't even remember how I described it to him, but it was definitely different than Bangers. You know what I mean?
That's my favorite song on the record, actually, which is that's my
cool.
joint right there. And we're gonna talk about that one because that one to me it's like it's bigger, almost like it's bigger than a record. Because it's like a motherfucker could not know shit about you, not know shit about Stu, not know shit about your life, your past. Listen to that record and be like, I totally relate to everything he's saying in here. And this is the realest shit. But it's not like, it ain't preachy, it ain't like angry. It's just real human. Wow. Yeah, that record is, that's my favorite song on the whole record right there. And I'm glad to hear you to say that, like, because I thought that at times, like, you know what? We're in a unique time. But what's great about it is that you can't just talk about nothing right now.
Right.
You know, like as much as he may have beats that where you can just wild out and do patterns and styles and talk shit, what's going on around us almost doesn't allow us to make those records right now.
Truer words have not been spoken, my brother. Because that record was me writing myself into my own sanity, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, bruh, waited 40 and some years to become a father, and now it's like I'm gonna miss my son's first birthday, my only kid. Like, and I mean the way the whole thing happened too, it's like I was with my wife and son for months, you know what I mean? And then on February 29th, they dipped out to Canada. And it was like literally just like, all right, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks. I was just gonna finish up some work, finishing up a remodel on a duplex. And then boom, like the world exploded. So I mean, that record, that not just Now Was Only Now, but that whole Vanguard album was like, whew, if I'm gonna have this time where I can't be with my family, I better do something with it, and I better find some way to channel all this massive tsunami of media that I'm taking in into something, or else I'm gonna come unglued. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope. So let's talk about the writing process for it. So you obviously, Stu was in Boston when you were there as well. For a period.
He's in Massachusetts. He's in the greater Boston area.
Okay.
As you know, I've been in Rhode Island now since 2018, since like June 2018. So, we're only about an hour apart, but with COVID, man, he might as well be living in like Hawaii or something.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Like, what was your routine for working on this record in terms of the writing?
Man, I honestly think, Print, like it was like when sanity beckoned and was just like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, but a lot of it too was just like, yo, these beats are so hard. Like, it was one of those times where I was like, thank God I have this outlet. You know what I mean? Because there's been a lot of times, like, I don't know if, I don't even know if I've ever said this in an interview, but like when I was a kid, bro, like when I'd get into like if I was injured, like there's one time I had a bike accident, I bust my head open. I'm on a stretcher getting wheeled into the hospital, and I'm spitting like an NWA verse in my mind. I think it was something off the Eazy-E solo record. You know what I mean? Probably one of the verses off of We Want Easy or something. Yeah. But in my mind, I'm just, I don't think I was saying it out loud, but in my mind, it's like rhyming. It helped me get through. It used to help me get through physical trauma, and definitely helps me with emotional trauma, So, so part of it was, yo, these beats are just absolutely psycho. Like I just, I have to rep on this. A part of it too was just like the excitement of realizing that I probably finally could like crown a project with the name Vanguard. Like that name was just like a mantle that I was holding for a while. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to like bestow it upon anything, because I was like, it gotta be with a producer who is like massively talented, gotta be prolific. I can't be sitting around waiting for months for beats. It gotta be like, yo, we dive into this thing. I didn't even tell Stu that we're Vanguard until like I think the record was almost done, bro.
He was like, this is what it is.
I was holding it.
This is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, I asked him, you know what I mean? But I was just like, yo, you know what I mean? Like, it was just at a certain point, like, I'd send him demos, and like some of them would say Vanguard. You know what I mean?
And he was like,
man, I should tell him.
Who's this Vanguard thing, Lif? You got something you need to talk to me about? I see this name you putting on all our rec. I mean, who's this?
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's us.
Yeah, that's us, man.
You're
and luckily
Vanguard.
for me,
I'm Vanguard.
yeah, he was with it. You know what I mean? But I was holding that thing tight. So I would say if we had to break it down into thirds, it was emotional need and psychological need to make art to stay sane, right?
Yeah.
It was excitement of being like, wait, like this might be Vanguard. You know what I mean? And like all the love that comes from that namesake, you know what I mean? Like wanting to put that into the record. And then the other third I'd have to say is just like the Stu's just making beats that are so powerful. He's bringing out something in me that I identify with from like 96, 97, like, freshly, dropped out of school in the world trying to make this thing happen for myself and hungry, like ready to just like any mic, anytime. You know what I mean? So Stu brings that out of me with those beats. So I would say that was the picture of how like the scope of writing was born from any of those three things.
That's dope. Okay, so we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back.
For the last year, I've been telling y'all, new book coming soon. The new book is coming soon. The new book is coming soon. Proud to let y'all know the new book is finally here. It's pre-ordering right now on waitlist.net. The new book is titled The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists, and it will be out officially on Tuesday, October 13th. In the book, I use interviews, album lyrics, anecdotes, and everything else I could get my hands on to reveal 10 traits that have defined the success of some of the dopest hip-hop artists of all time. From Jay Dilla to Rock Marciano to Murs to Mr. Dibbs to 50 Cent to the RZA, Slug from Atmosphere, Evidence, Tech 9, De La Soul, and many, many, many more. If you rock with me, I need you to go to waitlist.net right now and pre-order your copy. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.
All right, folks, back again. Blueprint, Mr. Lif, talking about the Vanguard album. Just came out, Friday. By the time you hear this, it's going to be Sunday. So everywhere music is, Spotify, iTunes, Bandcamp, support these brothers. It's good music. They are friends of the show. Some of you who listen to the show know I had Lif on before for our real estate episode, and he dropped Mad Game, and inspired
Trying to
me.
learn from you though, bro.
Hey man, look, the student became a teacher now. I gotta dive back in and learn from you. You the teacher now. You done took it further than I did, man. You doing duplexes and fourplexes and all types of shit. I got
Man, we gotta build. Man. We gonna have a meeting of the minds.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna get into just like the track by track thing. And so I'm going to go through some of these tracks and we're going to talk about them. So the first one, the Global Shift, that's just the intro, right? But you have like Insight on there, right?
Yeah.
And I never really heard Insight like the narrator. What made you choose him to narrate it?
Bruh, yo, man, there's just something about Sight. Like, okay, Sight might be the only actual scientist that I know. Like, I don't know that I've ever, if I've had conversations with Sight where he wasn't talking about a new concept or inventing something, those conversations could fit in the palm of one hand, bro.
Yeah.
It's like this dude is just, And there's just something about the brother's voice. And actually, I think the first time I ever had him narrate anything was on the breaks on this song called Earth Crusher that's back on the I Phantom album.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so he's like a newscaster in that. You know what I'm saying? That's like the nuclear apocalypse is happening. The site's just trying to hold tight at the sports desk, and then he gets blown off the map at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, there's just something about his temperament, the way that he uses his voice in many different ways, and there's just something smooth about it, man. So I like to have that brother deliver the narration, you know what I mean? So that's why I reached out to him for Global Shift. He's also on Wave the Flag further on in the album as well. But yeah, man.
Yeah, he's dope. Because I was, when I listened, I was like, wait a minute, that's Insight? Because it did not sound like what I, in my mind, how I hear him. But I was like, it's dope that he can do that. Because everybody's not built to just switch voices. And that takes a completely different type of delivery and vocal to do. But yeah, that's dope. And then also at the end of it, you hit him with we'll set it off. Is that the Gangstar J-Ru Apu Rob reference there?
Right.
Okay.
Well, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah. Wait, no, I think is that Mental Stamina?
It's one of them. It's one of those, right?
I think it's off of Sunrises in the East.
Yeah, because the way you said, I was like, yo, is he doing that on purpose, or did he just do it?
But I didn't think about it until you said it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like it just felt to me that's when hip hop is just a part of you. You know what I mean? And it's just like you don't even know you channeling something. You know what I mean? But that was, man. So basically with Global Shift into Shelter in Place. Yeah. That was a piece that I wrote, that I gave to Sight because I think the whole record was almost done at that point.
Okay.
But just in listening to the tracks, I just didn't feel like, just coming in with Shelter in Place was the right move. And like, it just felt like the stage needed to be set. You know what I'm saying? So that whole thing about, like a rose grows from the concrete with no soil underneath is just like, it's just like, like the unthinkable positivity can still arise from the ashes of what we're going through right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was the thing. It was just, I think Global Shift is really an acknowledgement of what has happened. Like we were all going straight in one direction, and now it's just 180, like, and none of us were planning on it. You know what I mean? And acknowledging that, giving it credence, and then also being like, well, we got no choice but to look on the bright side. So what good is coming of this? And one of the good things was artists trapped in their homes started to zone. You know what I mean? More art can happen now. The distractions have been removed. The distractions to the outside world have largely been removed, and now here we are. What are we going to do with this time?
Yeah, that shit's fire. And it also, something else I noticed about the record, and maybe this was not conscious as well, is like a lot of the titles of songs are phrases that are plucked from this time period, but you kind of don't use them as they're used. You know what I'm saying? Like you're kind of flipping them instead of just taking them literally. So like track number 2, Shelter in Place. Typically when they say shelter in place, it's meant to like be this negative thing. You're isolated, you're cut off from everybody. But you guys are using it and kind of flipping it to say, when Black say, I guess I found my shelter in place. Right. He's no longer saying it's this negative thing. He's saying, wait a minute, this started out as that, but through this, hold on, I got some of his lines down. He says, you can trap my body, but can't lock my dome as long as I can write words and recite these poems. You know what I'm saying? And that to me is like, it kind of adds like a silver lining to a time that's like, that could be perceived very dark. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, my brother. And it's one of those situations where it's just like, what's left but the choice to look on the bright side. You know, it's like, I think for a lot of people, man, it's like, and I feel for people, man, because a lot of cats, kind of I think a lot of people's mental health fell off the ledge or just got really, much worse. And, you know, I think it's just a decision. You know, some in some cases, gotta at least give the bright side a fair shot here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, your rhyme to me also really hits that home. You know, and where I talk about like these phrases that are used, and you flip them on the album and use them in almost like the opposite way. So like Shelter in Place, you have parts in your rhyme where now you're saying, you know, I'm focusing to refine a design. Rhyme becomes a palace, thoughts become a chalice, and embarrassment of riches, which is you're talking about instead of being in place, stuck in his house with nothing, I'm realizing I'm turning this into a palace. I'm turning this into something royal and dope. It's like a kingdom now.
Yep, exactly, Print, exactly. And I'll tell you what else, man. This whole record was recorded in my totally dingy, unfinished basement, bro. I felt like the whole record was recorded in a bunker. You know what I mean? And dope. It was just like, and I started to, because I mean, this is a house that, you know, I moved into. I mean, it was way less than a year. So it's like maybe let's say 8 months prior or 7 months prior I had moved in there. All my stuff's down in the basement. The only thing that's organized is the shelves on the wall holding some merch, you know, some vinyl and all that. Everything else is just bags of Lord knows what. I got soundproofing in a bag over here. I got some rugs that I didn't unroll. So it's like literally looks like, I don't want to say a scene from Hoarders, but it's just a bunch of misplaced items that are also emblematic of my career. You know, there's box with like all these like laminates from like, you know, festivals I performed at and all, but it's just like this kind of like semi-apocalyptic wasteland of things I want and don't have the mental space to comb through because of what's going on. And it was just like, you know, while my wife was at the crib before they went back to Canada, she carved this little space out of all the kind of rubble and junk because she had to record a couple of things. You know what I mean? And it was just a matter of after she left, I came down and made that space and was just like, wow, like the world feels like it's collapsed. And I now feel safe down here. Yeah. Like I'm just like, everything that's going on outside, I'm like, well, I'm literally in my own bunker. You know what I mean? I got my 2 means of egress. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you know, the state of martial law come through and the tanks are blowing shells through the building. I'm down here like, you know, I'm good. I still at least got a fighting chance down here. And it became my palace.
That's dope.
You know what I'm saying?
So with that beat, this sounds like one of those beats where you hear and you're like, yep, that's the first song on the record. Was it?
Yo, on the real, Print, like, you know, it should have been that simple, but it took that beat had to fight through the ranks.
Really?
There was a point where it didn't make the record.
What?
There was the iterations I'm sure that every artist goes through, but that I go through sometimes. It's like sometimes I just need something to kick me right in the teeth. You know, it's like, oh, here's this amazing beat. I'd love to write to that. Maybe it's for Vanguard too. You know what I mean? I just don't see a place for it on this record. Yeah. And the ascension from like, maybe you're not going to make the cut to like, yeah, you're setting it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I heard it out, because I was like, I basically heard it and was like, yep, perfect way to just start the record. Yeah. That had to have been the one where you heard it on the beat like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to write to that, but that's first. But it's funny to hear that it went kind of the opposite way.
It had to fight. I loved the beat. It was in the, you know, Stu and I, we generate like these pools. Like, I mean, we got enough ammo right now for like 2 more Vanguard albums. You know what I mean? Like, but it was in there. You know what I mean? and then, you know, it made it through the first round, made it through the second round. It was, you know, I'm very playlist oriented when I'm crafting albums. So it's literally like I'm listening to instrumentals and I'm trying to see if the music itself is telling me a story. Yeah. And so, you know, how many tracks are on this project? 11. It might have been in the 12th slot, 13th slot. Like that means you're not on the album. You're like you're coming off the bench in a pinch, but you on the outside looking in, and then it just made a Herculean stride from like number 12 or 13 or 14 to like you know end up being number 2, which is the first actual song. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. You know? So the next one is Basquiat. This song to me, like there's 3 songs on this record that are like, there's songs that are like my favorite conceptual songs.
Then there's songs on this record that are like my favorite, like technical rhyming songs.
Okay.
This is like one of my top 3, like the technical rhyming joints on this record.
Okay.
Like, I got 3, but this is one of them. And like you got like a passage on here that I really like is like, I'm a Native American tribe who never died, holding you accountable for genocide. Your history book shook when a youth took a second look and slowly looked up from their books, and they stared at the professors, the predecessors, mentors, and the kids turned into centaurs. Clicked their hooves with your mythology, follow me, and then asked, why would you try to lie so pathologically?
Yeah, brother.
I like that. That's a crazy section right there, bro.
Thank
I like
you.
that. What were you? Because this is a short one. This is really just one verse.
One verse.
But I have some thoughts on like why it works perfectly in that slot. But I'd love to kind of hear you like you never thought of, and the beat is so grimy, it's dusty.
Ultra grimy. That's what it started with for me, Print, because it's like, man, it kind of reminded me of like an old Wu track, man. Like when I heard that, I was like, ooh, like it just was filthy. I happened to be in NY, in Astoria at the time. Like I was just, on a little retreat with the family. Like my wife spent a lot of time in Queens. So we took our young one and we went to Queens and we just posted up at an Airbnb. Yeah. And that beat was like calling me to come out. We were just renting a room, you know what I'm saying? So there was like another room at the other end of the apartment that some people were in, some nice folks. But like that beat would call me out of the room, bro. To like, I was like, I gotta go sit at the table with this shit right here. Yeah. And like, yeah, bro. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in that passage that you selected because it's like, the miseducation that we're fed in schools, man, the stories that we're told. I mean, that's the crux of it, right? But then I think just like my love of Greek mythology, like probably inspired the centaur line. Yeah. But like, yeah, brother, it's just like, and then later on, like, say like the devil pops up later on, just like, yo, like you spread the disinformation like generously, thank you, and then like just kind of oust you out, like, you know what I mean? Like I'm saying for the individual that was spreading that misinformation, like when the devil popped up, you know what I'm saying? Like, devil like was just like, yo, big up, but like was just like quickly moved beyond you, like, yo, you've been used for your purpose, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, brother, I don't know if I feel like I didn't take everything in there. Say the beginning of the part again, though. I feel like there was something else. Yeah.
Oh, you said, I'm a Native American tribe who never died, holding you accountable for genocide. Your history book shook when the youth took a second look and slowly looked up from their books at their professors, their mentors, the predecessors.
So that's just like, yeah, man, just the pain and anguish that's in the soil of America, bro. Yeah. So much pain and anguish, man. Like from people that just like truthfully probably would have been like way better for the earth. Like if you're just looking at the earth as like the living, breathing organism that it is, man, like you're looking at Native American people living in accordance with the land, you know what I'm saying? Like, that quote unquote civilized folks or colonizing folks want to come through just like, oh, what you doing here? You living too gently on the land. Body you real quick, take your culture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So it was just speaking to that overall pain and anguish that lurks in the fabric of the nation, you know what I mean? And how that just gets manipulated and remarketed to the youth, which is the dirtiest, you know what I'm saying? Like, think of how dirty that is, bro. Like, you're like, yo, we came through as grimy as you could get, you know what I mean? Like, we saw people living peacefully, we bodied them, you know what I mean? And now we're gonna just spin this story to make it sound like they were the bad guys or whatever, and like, we're gonna pump that into the minds of the youth. The youth are gonna grow up like walking on a path that doesn't even exist. Like, it's the ultimate. You know what I mean? That's why the devil pops up later in that verse, because it's like, it's deeply psychologically, when you really step back and think of the mentality that it would take to weave that type of tale, to have it and to mass distribute that type of tale, it's the devil's work right there, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the verse is hard. It's a real hard verse, and it is just cuts, and then it's kind of short. But what I thought, and I'd love to hear you elaborate on it, because it's a short song, but I think it's perfect in that slot because it's heavy, but it's still it's not as heavy as the song after it.
Right.
Which is 8, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
it almost like it serves almost like to set up the 8 minutes 46 seconds song, which
Right.
is right after it. Now that's just me kind of thinking like, is that because if I look at it like you're saying, the playlist type of thing when you're assembling an album, you're like, okay, how do I engineer this roller coaster ride for the listener?
Yeah.
It was
exactly.
did the length of it and did that play a factor in you putting it into that slot as well? What was after it and what was before it?
You know, Print, what's crazy about that one, Basquiat was the original opening track of the record.
What?
It was. You know what I'm saying? It was the original
you made the
opening
right
track.
decisions. You made the right decisions.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It was the original opening track. And then, you know, it's crazy. You know, I played it for my wife and she was like, that don't quite sound like an album opener. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, word. You know what I mean? You know, I'm still gonna make my own decisions at the end of the day, but I was like, okay, duly noted, noted, you know what I mean? And then and Stu really loved, like, that's one of the first tracks I'd say that he fell in love with off of this record, you know? But it just, when it came down to it, and 846 was the last song made for the record, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, so it was really kind of like this picture was painted, and then there was 846. And it was like, what's the place where this makes the most sense? And it felt like Basquiat had set the stage for 846 to fit in there.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. Because when I've listened to enough where, like you're saying, sometimes I've had this thing with a lot of recent albums, like particularly like the Busta Rhymes album, where I listen to it. Yeah, but I find myself changing the order, flipping. Like I have like a version of it I made, a playlist on Spotify that's like 6 tracks shorter. And it just works so well. And I find myself moving things around sometimes with albums I like, but don't like love. But this one I was like, nope, perfect call. Yep. Perfect order.
Thank you, brother.
Order, you know?
Thank you so much. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Yeah. So this
and it's
go ahead.
You go ahead. You go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna talk about 846, but go ahead if you.
Well, no, I was just gonna talk about. I do love that Busta record, but there's something, you know. I'm more of the short and sweet variety, you know, in terms of when I'm making records, and it's just interesting. On the Busta, I think he went in a direction and went there so boldly, embodied it, and hit us with so many styles. I'm just like, okay, you're the god at this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna be asking any questions, but I hear you on that too. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of different flavors, and sometimes you just want to whittle things down to like, this is the most precise version. You know what I mean? So, I
think that record's like an hour 20 minutes.
It's a long one, man, which is so bold in this era. I was like, you know.
I found I was on like track 12 and I was like, okay, it got to be over now. And I looked, I was like, yo, I'm not even halfway done with this album, bro.
Yep.
He just get started, you know?
Yep.
I was like, okay, let me just listen to this in 2 or 3 settings. It took me like 2 or 3 sit-downs to listen to it. And I was like, okay, well, let me just get rid of the joints and see if I can make like my version a little shorter. But yeah, it's like I'm a victim of the shortened attention span as well. You know, that some of us have to deal with now with so many more albums coming out.
Right.
Less time. And he's got some shit on that record.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah.
So 846. This is for this song, I want to talk about how this song came together because I'm on this song. This song features me, Reef, Murs, and Puma.
Puma Patah
on the chorus. So when you and I chopped it up, it was just you, and then I wrote to that. And so imagine my surprise when I hear the finished song and everything is mixed around, and I'm like, oh, who's that? Oh, Reef is on it, Murs is on it, and then I'm hearing verses. I'm like, damn, you know, I wish I probably could have. If I'd have known he was gonna go there, I might have went there. But it's like this whole thing, like you was back there orchestrating. There wasn't no hook. Like, what was the order of the pieces you put on that song?
Bro, it was crazy. Okay, so first of all, everyone is on the track, aside from Puma Patah, in the order that they submitted their verses.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, period. Like, you know, that's the only song on the record that I mixed myself.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was literally like, I was just, And the only reason that happened was because I was like, man, I don't know quite how I would, Jeremy Page is the mix engineer that did every other song on that record and mastered it and everything like that. But I was like, how would I even send this to Jeremy? Because I was like, I know I want things to sound a certain way. There's an overall feel I wanted to, and there's for the track for all the vocalists and everything. And I was like, there's no way how can I was like, I can't interpret this to him. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to end up going back and forth with him like 8 times, and then he's gonna come to my crib and drop kick me in the chest. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, I have to. There's a lot going on. So I was like, yo, every time I got a vocal, I was like, I just want to sit here and I want to work with this and get it to sound. I think I had even convinced myself maybe I was just creating an example to send Jeremy at one point, but then about halfway through, I was like, nah, I think I'm just mixing this. You know what I mean? But bruh, I mean, I think. It's crazy. I can't remember. Maybe I did reach out to you first.
Yeah, because I know I turned mine in maybe a day later or 2 days later. It was no more than 2 days.
No. You took some time on that one, Print. No, don't sleep. I had to come back.
Oh, you did? You had to double back on me?
I had to double back on you, bro. I was like,
you know what? Okay, you're right. Because it was a lot going on. That was like literally. I was just like, because I was mad, and I was like, I don't want to just. Right, let me just think about this for a second and make sure I don't say what he says.
Right.
Make sure that if anybody else is on it, I'm not clashing with them. So I was like, yeah, you're right. I did have to double back. It took me a few days. I was like, I'm still angry as hell. Like,
but I tell you what, and I even went through. I might have had one of those questions in my mind, like, man, maybe Print too busy to be on this one. Yeah. But I was like, let me circle back with him. You know what I mean? Because I mean, you gave me the heads up right off the bat, like, I think that like what you were going through, probably from your experience of all the media that we were all absorbing, was just like, I think that you felt that some of the I don't think you liked the way that you saw the topic being addressed by other people, or there was something that made you be like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna touch this one, you know what I mean? But I just appreciate how you approached it, man, because when you delivered, bro, you delivered. You know what I'm saying? With so much conviction, everything, the tone, bro, you came with that tone. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm glad you took your time with it. You know what I mean? I'm glad you took your time with it. But yeah, putting that one together was really crazy, Print, because it literally was it was mainly me just being like, I am so disgusted by what I just saw happen. And I am shell-shocked. Like I said earlier, like every emotion, every piece of trauma, you know what I'm saying, from, of being a black man in America rose to the surface. I had to kind of comb through all that and try. I mean, bro, like when I laid my verse, dude, it was tough, man. It was tough to lay that verse. Like it was like an emotional time where I remember dreading getting to the point. Like there was just a point where I was like, like, can I even do this? You know what I mean? And then it just got to a point where it's like, I have to get this out of me. Like I have to deliver this verse, but so I wanted that song to be a rallying cry from black men that I know and respect, to just get all of your perspectives. If I could, that's the simplest I can put it. And you guys, each one of you, delivered so exquisitely. You know what I mean? It was really remarkable. And I think that, so there was a point, Reef's verse came in and he and I had our back and forth and we settled on what we settled on. You delivered your verse. Murs was, and I wasn't sure it was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where I think before Murs delivered, I was like, yeah, there's a need for a chorus, or there's a need for something to tie this in. And I was talking with the label, with Fat Beats, and Joe over at Fat Beats was like, yo, let's get Bounty Killer on this. And this is right after the the verses with Beanie Man and Bounty Killer. And I was like, what? I was like, you sure though? Beanie got like, Beanie's dumb famous, yo. I was just like, you have a connect with him, and he was like, well, he had some connection, but it was a long shot, right? It was a long shot. And then I gave that some time to see if it was going to happen, because, obviously that would have been insane, right? But like, But then I was just like, wait, hold up. I know like brother, like I know cats that could body this like real, like where, to the point where I'm not even gonna be thinking about whether or not Bounty gets on this. So I called the brother Puma, and you know he's based in Richmond, Virginia right now, and like this is a brother from that I've toured around the world with him for the last 10 years with Thievery Corporation.
Okay.
So I've been standing side to side with this man on stage. I know the damage he could do.
Yeah.
And and I just he just took it very seriously, man. He drove to DC. He got with our engineer, like the guy that does our front of house sound also is the guy that mixes all the Thievery records. So went in the lab. He drove from Richmond to DC, went into the lab with our engineer. His name is Gianmaria Conti. Ill-ass engineer, originally from Rome, lives in DC, Rome, Italy. And yeah, man, they just went and banged that out, and we had our back and forth, but like I got that, and once that was in place, it really felt like, okay, this song has now been taken to another level. Yeah. And then right when I was starting to wonder and think maybe it wasn't going to happen, boom, Murs hits the inbox with the verse. Yeah. You know what I mean? I popped that on there, got everyone's mixes sounding right. You know, the drops, I felt the drops were real crucial. You know what I'm saying? Like when you say it's in your verse, when you're like, it's shameful. You know what I'm saying? Like makes me want to throw in the towel. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to breathe because it smells so foul. You know what I'm saying? Like, the drops had to be right on that jam. And so to me, that was really, it was heartwarming, Print, because I was like, you know what? There's times where I feel so far removed from music, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, or sometimes removed maybe from the underground rap world. It's like I'm touring with Thievery, or I'm doing my real estate stuff, or I'm just being a husband and a father. And I'm just in the trenches of all those things. And to call upon my brothers from this world of underground rap, the world that's at the core of my being, and to have you all respond, man. You know what I mean? To me, that was the thing. Like, it was heartwarming. You know what I mean? It was heartwarming. And then to have y'all deliver with the caliber you all delivered at was just crazy. And that track just means a ton to me, man.
Yeah. So how long of a period was this? Was this like a 2-week, 3-week period? How long did all of this stuff happen in?
This had to be a strong 3 weeks, maybe a month. And it was just this, we had a lull, right? So it was like when Stu and I first made this record, we were like, we got to get this out now. Like, you know what I mean? And it was a shorter EP, can't remember how many songs were on it, maybe 6 or something like that. And then I was just like, you know what? I'm terrible at marketing and promotion. I'm like the worst probably all time in the course of human history. Like, I was just like, anytime I throw something, I feel like it goes like, you know what I mean? Like I throw something as hard as I can and it falls right here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm just like, why would I, because I'm excited about the music and because I feel like it might be timely, why am I going to now convince myself that I can market and promote it? I was like, I can't. I was like, I need to remove myself from this role. That's when I started to talk with Stu about like, yo, why don't we build a little bit, try to maybe find a publicist or something. And then, I mean, my wife on the low, she's MVP in many categories. She came through and she was just like, yo, because she put out, her name's Eternia. She's on the album too. And, and she put out a record, one of her vintage releases with Fat Beats, like I think in like 2011, she, her Eternia and Moss, they dropped a record called At Last.
Yeah.
So she was like, yo, hit up Fat Beats, hit up Joe. He's mad down to earth. So we started talking with Joe. And then the picture just started evolving. But then Joe wanted more tracks on the record. He was like, yo, why are we going to leave it with at where it is when we could just evolve it into an album and just have, like, everyone would just feel better about putting more into it. He was like, I know you and Stu are here to stay. Like, you trying to make Vanguard like a foundation in this culture. Like, why the EP? So we thought about that. So we had this whole period of time where it was like, okay, let's give ourselves a little space to reimagine this. You know what I mean? And 846 was probably the last thing to happen in that space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When we were still putting the picture together from a business standpoint. And then, George Floyd was tortured to death and all the emotions from that exploded. And then it was enough time for me to figure out what did I want to do with that pain.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's dope to hear the story behind that, because I only see like one side of it. So I knew something was going on. I was like, man, is it gonna be on the album? I hope it's gonna drop. We'll see. And then I heard, oh, this is a real song now. Because when I heard it was
real song.
your verse, me, and then not mixed.
Yep.
And that was it. And then I hear this whole thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is fire. This is fire. Okay, so the next song on the record is Old World Brokeness. This is just a musical interlude.
I'm just grabbing some water.
Again, this is, go ahead. But this is, again, another one of those things where I think it makes perfect sense there, because what comes after it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I look at the track list, and I'm like, you know what? It almost like, it's like what do they call it? A palate cleanser. You know what I mean? Like why they put the pickle on your plate when you go to restaurants. That's basically what Old World Brokeness is.
That's exactly what it is, brother. It's just like, I felt like, okay, like,
because that was all in fucking heavy.
Right.
is heavy.
It's heavy. And Basquiat was before that, and Shelter in Place was before that. And it's like, let's take a breather. And you know what it really is a nod to as well, like a kind of a tip of the cap on the low, is like Daily Operation album by Gangstar, man. Like, I just loved some of those little musical interludes that Preem threw in there on that record. It's like, people don't necessarily have conversations about those, but from a textural standpoint, they just embodied so much of the soul, and they're just such a nice finishing touch on that album.
Yep.
And I don't think I've ever done that on any record I've ever created, just have like musical interludes. Like, I've had skits, like on iPhantom, I have skits that are setting up the song after it or addressing the song before it. But like, to just have a musical interlude, like, I'm not rhyming on this, you know what I'm saying? There's no cuts on this. This is just for y'all to like, vibe out for a second and get ready for the next chapter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. So then the next one, which is Wave the Flag.
Yeah.
And this is my second favorite rhyming song.
Okay.
On the record. The other one was the verse off of earlier in the song, Basquiat.
Yep. Basquiat.
This is my second favorite one of just technically rhyming. Like, this song, the beats are grimy as expected, but then the lyrics are fucking, you in your bag on this. Like, I love like the whole deleting our ability to stand together, band together, parts of a planned agenda, then it's military force, deep in every hood, of course, stay inside or take a fine, lose your mind or take a loss, then cause for grave avarice, what comes after this, do as the master's wish, the wealthiest will get more rich. I love that passage, because it's like, people are talking about this time we're in a very reactionary way, only in terms of, okay, the collateral damage, the number of deaths, right? Or number of infected. They're not talking about how it actually erodes, like this, just, we're being forced to live in a way that's not natural.
Exactly.
Not being around people, not being able to see your family, not being able to stand together and be around each other in groups. Humans are social beings, right? And I love how you kind of go into this specifically here, because I don't think people have really talked about that aspect. And all of this music's being made about, people aren't talking about that aspect of it.
Well, I'll tell you, Print, I feel like, you just made some excellent points. Like, I feel like what we are going through now, and definitely what we went through last, I guess, spring, right? Or like end of winter into the spring, like March, April. It's almost like the appetizer plate for martial law. You know? It's like, whether, you could expand to larger conspiracy theories and all that, but like, at the end of the day, the government's learning that they could trap us in our homes if they want. And like, and in different countries and cities around the globe, like, the fines vary. In some countries you have to get like a written permission slip to go out, and like stating exactly why you're outside. In the Philippines, they'll just bother you. They'll pump you full of slugs. You know what I mean? Like,
crazy.
That's where they're at with it. You know what I mean? But like, it's just like, it's literally like a martial law. It's like the appetizer plate for like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's see if we can get this step in place. Okay, we can control you guys like this. Well, and the thing about it that had me second guessing that those particular lyrics, though, Print, was like, the fact that like, all the worldwide protests for George Floyd. You know what I mean? So I was like, like they have tried to really keep us in our homes. But like, they see now though, if their acts are heinous enough, we will come pouring out of those cribs. Like, we'll be in the streets, like, no matter what they say. But it's just interesting because, so there was that point where I was like, man, that line might not stand the test of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when you look at it as the story continued, what happened in Portland, Oregon? You know what I mean? They had what? The feds up there, right? Like in unmarked cars, like snatching protesters up in the unmarked vehicles. Like, you know, just that's what they want, bro. They don't want us in the streets. Like, yes, you know, we have some effectiveness with the protests. Like, I'm glad that we got a dialogue going about defunding the police, aka using the funds that are being pumped towards the law enforcement, specifically the police, in different ways. So that if someone needs mental health, like someone's having like a mental health issue, we could get some specialists for that. You know, because we don't need people with guns at that. You know what I'm saying? You know, at that type of incident, you know? So I like that conversation. I'm glad that came from it a lot, you know, in terms of like one of my favorite pieces of awareness that came away from all this. But at their core, I think that, you know, the president spoke very loudly when he sent the feds out there. It was just like, you know, just snatch them up, body them, like whatever you have to do, but just like, let's clean this up and let's clean it up quick. You know what I mean? So they don't, you know what I'm saying? They don't want to stand together, band together. It is parts of a planned agenda.
Yeah, dope. And then there's the other parts where it's like, which is also, this is another passage I really like, when like you go into like, now watch me understand the rhythm through some ancient mannerisms, Bruce Bannerisms, solar panelisms, generations so your family will understand the steez as long as fate allows this man to breathe. Either ancient Mayan steez or Guyanese, grow wings and fly your knees, riptides and inspire seas, submerge and try to breathe. Like, you just kind of keep going and going and going, and it's like, rapping.
I had to have some fun there, Print. I had to have some fun there.
I like that because the first half of it is like that part. The earlier passage is serious, and then this is just like take that. I'm still in my bag. Patterns like I got these.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like these little like breaths of fresh air or like glimpses of freedom, even though you're locked down. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, because at that point, I'm even feeling like the song's trying to hold me. I'm like, oh man, like, can I go off topic here? You know, like, I'm wondering this to myself. Like, you know, am I decreasing the value of the song here by like, this is what's in me, this is what's coming out. But like, should I be just trying to like stay on this rigid form, talking about, you know, the things I addressed in verse 1, and I ultimately decided to break away and just style out on it a little bit, and tie it back in a little later. You know what I mean? With you know, I need my 6 feet of space in the place. You know, before we're both gone without a trace. You know what I'm saying? So it ties in, but yeah, man, you know, had to have a moment of fresh air there.
Yeah, and then, you know, Eternia, really like her verse because it kind of takes what you're talking about. We talking about ruining our ability to stand together, and how it talks. She talks about it, and what I like as well is like, you know, we have a lot of these macro conversations about what this means globally, right?
Right.
She speaks about it on a family level.
Yep.
And to me, that's something that's really dope. You know, her lyrics are walking down the street without a mask and face hate from compadres. I'm holding my son's hands. They're pointing like we need space between us. Division of family. It's the last place sacred. Tensions rise high with the infection rate. The neighbors call the cops if you celebrating a birthday. Communicating through screens. Friends are pixels and things. They smile in your face, but after they report where you've been, who you've been with, and if it was essential or not. Joy you forgot and happiness, a long lost art. Times past. Our son will grow up hearing that shit. Times when kids played together. Scandalous, a foul act.
Bruh, certified. She came certified with that, bro. Yeah. Like,
she was waiting.
Yo, man, just hearing you, dude. She broke her foot off in that. Like, and like, yo, dude, it's, yo, man, the conversation. Yo, bro, let me just tell you. I'm gonna just tell you the whole thing. How she even came to be on that song.
Yeah.
Apathy was originally supposed to be on that.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
But me and Stu, we were waiting for App. You know what I mean? And I know he wanted to be a part of it, but that brother's deep in real estate as well.
Yeah.
And I think things were popping off for him. And plus he's prolific too. So he had things he was working on. He wasn't able to come through on that one. And so it was just a turning point where it was like, I'm still in Rhode Island. I'm talking with my wife, just like, yeah, like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this joint. Cause I know I said everything I had to say on it. You know what I mean? And I had been so used to the thought that App was going to rep on it. I didn't have an idea for anyone else. And then she was just like, yo, she was like, I'll spit a verse on that. And at first I was just like, because I had literally no ideas, I was like initially resistant. Yeah. I was like, I just don't know. Like, I was like, I need more time to sit with this. And she was just like, look, I'm a write and record this. I'm gonna send it to you with the full understanding that if it's not what you're looking for, we'll take it off the record. No hard feelings. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, it's almost like I just needed someone to step in and be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, I'll do a verse for this, you know what I mean? But I didn't know that at the time. So then, she's talking with me about like, okay, she hears what I did, but then she's also just like, what's the texture we're aiming for here? And so I'm throwing some descriptive phrases, I'm just trying to paint gray, pale, like with what I'm telling her. I'm just like, yeah, it's just like this vapid world that we're living in right now, man. And then the final thing I said to her that got her pen in motion, I was just like, yo, I need you to just come with some Sarah Connor shit on it. Like T2, T2 Judgment Day. Like literally when I said that, she was like I think she just hung up the phone. She's like, peace. And that was it. And then next time I heard from her was that. It was that. And I was just like, what? Like, I was like, get a beat tape in your honor from the dashboard replay. Yeah. Like, but dude, just to me, it's just the whole thing. Like you said, man, like what you say? Like, if you sell it, like neighbors call the cops if you celebrating a birthday. Like she had just witnessed that like 2-3 days before and told me about it. You know what I mean? And like, was it like celebrate through screens, friends are pixels and things. They smile in your face, but later they report where you've been. Like, dude, that to me, that's just crazy. That's what was going on. It's like you listen to that shit and you're just like, yeah, the world did end. Like, definitely. Like just in such a short span of time, like this human experiment has resulted in us like ratting each other out. Like, oh, you're compromising my safety because like you had and she told me it was like even a socially distanced birthday. Like, I think it was like people driving by and there might've been like a parent and a kid standing on a sidewalk and people were like, calling the cops on you, So it's just like how quickly we can just kind of like devolve into this, like, what is that? Yeah. What is that? You know what I mean? Like, how did we forget in the span of 2 months, like how important it might be for like a young child to like see their friends even at a distance, like on a birthday, we're going to call it like, that's a criminal offense. We calling the cops for that. So I just thought that she painted so stark and so haunting with that verse. She came with it.
And I'm glad you said the Sarah Connor thing because you got the line in there, because I'm the one scenario where Skynet loses. Word. The T2 reference or Terminator reference. Yep. So it makes sense now. Yeah, it was just a dope line by itself, and now that I know the story behind it, it makes sense. Because she definitely did that. Yeah, that's dope. Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we'll come back in a minute with the last third of the record. Be right back.
What's up, everybody? Here to let y'all know we got a brand new 7-inch available on the waitlist.net web store right now. The name of the record is Let Us Pray, and it's by the Thermites out of Reno, Nevada, featuring myself, Blueprint on the Rhymes. As you can see, we're dealing with some beautiful clear vinyl right here. The A side of the record is the vocal version. The B side of the record is the instrumental version. And just so you know, there's only 500 copies of this record, and I've only been given 50 to sell total. That means that if you want one of these records, you better act fast. This is the Let Us Pray 7-inch, available exclusively at waitlist.net. Get yours before they run out. Peace.
To us, but to them, it's really small. I guess we still need faith like Biggie Smalls. Enjoy the quiet and meditate. Silence the mind, thinking of a better day. Let go of yesterday. Give thanks to the sun for another day. Let us pray.
For the last year, I've been telling y'all, new book coming soon. The new book is coming soon. The new book is coming soon. Proud to let y'all know, the new book is finally here. It's pre-ordering right now on waitlist.net. The new book is titled The 10 Traits of Successful Hip Hop Artists, and it will be out officially on Tuesday, October 13th. In the book, I use interviews, album lyrics, anecdotes, and everything else I could get my hands on to reveal 10 traits that have defined the success of some of the dopest hip-hop artists of all time. From Jay Dilla to Rock Marciano to Murs to Mr Dibbs to 50 Cent to the RZA, Slug from Atmosphere, Evidence, Tech Nine, De La Soul, and many, many, many more. If you rock with me, I need you to go to waitlist.net right now and pre-order your copy. Talk to y'all soon. Peace.
All right, folks, we back. Super Duty Tough Work, Blueprint, Mr Lif.
Yes, indeed.
And we're talking about the new Vanguard album that's out everywhere, and we're doing a breakdown. I haven't got to do one of these before, and this is actually kind of dope, you know.
I'm loving it, man.
This is stuff I wanted to do with artists. Because when I listen to albums, I be having these questions in my head, like, I should start doing these with artists who are down. So hopefully, you know, this becomes a thing. And then, you know, whenever you put out stuff and we can time it up, we can have you on to break these down, because I think the people who mess with you and Stu and stuff like this, I don't think they get stuff like this specifically.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, this is long form, you know, like liner notes type stuff. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
And where are liner notes nowadays? Nowhere, right? Everything's digital. Yeah.
Done. You know, so we're gonna jump back into the record. We're now on track 7, Sonar featuring Acrobatic. Now, this song I have some completely different questions about. Not even related to the content. This song, I got questions about the technical approach to how you guys did it, because y'all are kind of known for a certain thing.
Right.
This track is the opposite. You know what I mean?
Well, break it down. Tell me, because I don't.
So for those who, like, people know in general, I mean, you guys do a lot, but people know Ak and Lif on like, in your face, kind of boom bap, straightforward. Right. This track is not quote unquote boom bap. It's not as boom bap as anything else on the record. It's kind of syncopated. Your flows are very kind of syncopated and very patterned. Ak's rhyming. Ak is like in the pocket more. For when I first heard Ak, I was like, is that Ak? But then I was like, oh yeah, that is Ak. I didn't recognize him at first because he's doing something so different. So like my question with this one is like, given everything that is on the record, this kind of breaks it up. Was how you rhymed on it, and what's crazy about how you rhymed on it, there's a brief second where I was like, he sounds a little like Q-Tip.
Oh damn, word. Okay.
You know what I mean? And I was like, because
it brought a different tone.
Yeah. And the pattern, you're just like, and I was like, yo, he sounds a little like Tip, because I did like a Q-Tip thing on my last record too, and I was like, I wonder if Lif knew that when he did that. Like, let me just mess with this pattern a little bit to fuck with people. But explain like the approach and how you, because I'm assuming you rhymed first and then talked to Ak, but how did you decide to go so different on this track?
Bruh, it just was an interpretation of what the track was calling for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really honestly feel like my job as an MC or as a vocalist is to just really do what the music says to do. You know what I mean? So that one, I can tell you that writing those 2 verses on my behalf for Sonar, to me, it felt like they happened in the blink of an eye. I know it must have taken some time, but I feel like it's pretty rare that I sit down and just write 2 verses. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the time I'll be like, you know, I'll write one, be like, okay, let me take a breather. I'll come back to this song maybe tomorrow, or I'll come back to it later today. But this was literally like, it was a beat I was intrigued by. It had just been looming.
Yeah.
And then like I threw it on one night when I was in the bunker, you know what I mean, where I recorded the record, and like the rhymes just fell out of my dome. So it really truly in its true essence was me just obeying the beat. So the tone, like the inflection, that, you know, the different tonality to my voice, the syncopated rhyme scheme, it was just all just interpretation of the beat. Of course, with the backdrop of like, it also just the beat is just mad stark and it's eerie,
very
right?
eerie beat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you describe what you wanted from Ack, or did you just send him your verse and he just,
I sent him my verse,
and he just,
dude, because we share a brain, bro. That's the whole thing about Perceptionist. It's like, I mean, we have conversations about songs definitely in general, but I just think that he heard it, he heard what I did, and he was just like, and we've made enough songs together and stood on stage enough together that we understand like how to complement each other. You know, like if I hear him flip a certain way, I'm gonna flip this other way to like, you know, to just, you know, compliment or to give the audience a little dash of something different. Like, you know, we truly share a brain, man, since like 98, you know, 96.
You can hear it on this track, because I listen, I'm like, yo, it's different in the sense that, like, you know, the album, because at this point we're on track 7, the album already has like a feel to it,
right?
And like you're saying, this track is dark, but like this is the one where like what you do and he did is vastly different in terms of just the technical way that you approached rhyming on.
Right.
It's pretty fascinating. Now I do have another random question, and this may be one you've noticed or not. Do the keys intentionally get slower during Ack's verse and a little more offbeat?
Oh, yo, you know what? I got to go back and peep that. I didn't know.
Because and maybe it's a question for Stu, because
there's a question for Stu. It might
be Ack's verse. I feel like the keys get a little bit behind the beat and grow a little bit more and more offbeat as the verse goes.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to listen.
Am I the only one noticing this? Because I'm like, it gives it, like you say, it's already eerie.
Yeah.
But then as he's rhyming it, the sample is kind of feeling like it's getting slower and a little more offbeat. And I'm like, is that intentional, or am I just is it playing a trick on me?
Wait, but is it possible that the way Ack approaches flow like creates that illusion?
Maybe it's possible. It's possible. I could be just making this up. But listen,
no. I'm a peep this now, dude. I'm inclined to think that I think Ack created an illusion.
Yeah,
that's what because knowing Stu, like, now don't get me wrong, Stu will put nuances into things.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But I think that in his heart of hearts, he just wants to brutalize you out the gate, and stay brutal. And then when he leaves, you know, there's just entrails all over the floor. You know what I mean? So he don't want to over discuss it. He don't want to get too intricate. He just come through barbaric. So I feel like Stu probably remains stoic, and I think Ack might have created an illusion.
That's crazy, because I'm like, am I bugging with you? But it makes sense, because it's like, you know, it's even more bugged out, and I'm probably reading too much into it too here, but it's like the song is called Sonar. So I'm thinking, okay, these brothers is doing some weird stuff to my ears right now by slowing these keys down and fucking with me. Because I listen to it on headphones. You know,
you might have to take this up with Ack, yo.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You might have to quiz that brother on that. Be like, hey, respect your listeners, fam. You know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy.
You're twisting nobody's brain up.
You freaking me out, Ack. Don't do that shit no more. We rhyming like that, making the beat sound like it's getting slower and shit. So number 8, track 8, New World Adjustments. Another palette cleanser, you know what I mean? Kind of sets up the next joint. And
exactly.
So we'll go straight to the next joint, which is Now Is Only Now.
But before we do, let me say this though. So the first interlude is old world brokenness, right?
Yeah.
And then this one's New World Adjustments, right? So it's just, I think that with these tracks,
I didn't catch it. Okay.
They're palette cleansers, but they're also, the names kind of just signify, like, you know, we were living in this world.
Yeah.
And it was broken in so many ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like we you know, in those first 3 songs, we've definitely opened those wounds, exposed kind of what's in there, talked about the pain and the grief, and that to me like really signified the old world brokenness, you know. And probably a main challenge for so many of us was just like, we had to adjust to this new world. You know what I mean? So that's where those names came from for me. It's just like old world brokenness. It's just like, okay, the world's different now, but what the hell were we clinging to that so tightly for anyway? Because it was broken. Like we were living in this like hyper unsustainable world where, like, you know, if you had the dough, you could just hop on a flight and fly to Australia. Like, okay, let's go to Sydney. Like, let's just go to the other side of the planet. You know what I mean? And go hang out and eat food there. And then let's go to Japan. Like, I don't know, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like we enjoyed an era of being able to move around so freely with every possible amenity at our fingertips. I mean, before COVID, bro, like you'd use the Uber app and like you'd summon a vehicle and you could just watch. you could see how far away it was.
I mean, be here in 2 minutes. It's right around.
And that was a way of life for me, bro. The amount of dough that I've probably saved from not taking Ubers anymore. Like, because I just don't trust it right now. You know, like maybe they've adjusted, but for me, I'm just like, I'm hopping in a car with a stranger. There's a pandemic, and they're right there. Like, I could try to have the window down, but it's like, you know, luckily a buddy of mine had a used car that I actually he let me borrow it for 2 months right when COVID started, and then I bought it. You know, from him. I was just like, nah, I'm not going back. But I'm just saying, like, we were literally like Matrix level. You know what I'm saying? With the way the world was. It's like, okay, like you need this piece of information downloaded into your brain. Cool. Now you know Kung Fu. You need to get from here to here. Summon a car. Like you need to be in Australia for something. Like you want to try like whatever, fly there. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like the new world it's like the old world brokenness, the new world adjustments. The new world adjustments are for a lot of us being like, hey, you know, maybe this, at least for me, it's like maybe this slower pace of life isn't bad, man.
Yeah.
I haven't been on a plane since.
Yeah. So is it almost like, so now that you point that out, I'm thinking, okay, now it's almost like a story. It comes almost like it's like a chapter heading. Like, okay, you know how you have acts in movies.
Yeah.
So New World Adjustments would actually be, I guess, the second or the third act. Like you're saying, you face the challenges and now you're reflecting on what happened, or you decided how you overcome them, which makes sense because now is only now is right after that, and that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, okay. Or you're still stumbling through the adjustments.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, just because you know you got to make the adjustments doesn't mean you're doing any of it gracefully.
Facts,
man.
Yeah, so now is only now, as I said earlier, it's my favorite track on the album. Like,
thank you.
Favorite track on the album is very human. It's very just like, you know, whereas the other tracks were just like, I'm fighting this thing head on. This is just like, yo, I'm not a superhero.
Right.
I'm a regular person with regular issues. And like the two stories you telling it are so dope. The first story is about like, you know, your mom and choosing between going to visit your mother and then having, and then everything got locked down. And then you having to decide whether to leave her and go back to your family and your child. But then knowing that if you left your mom and something happened, how would you live with that? That's such
the worst of the worst.
Yeah, man. Like that's the first story. Then the second story is about dealing with, like you mentioned earlier, you do the real estate thing and then trying to get relief, or what they phrase is relief, and finding out it ain't really relief. You know what I mean?
Relief.
You know, talk about that for a second.
Bruh, it's always something with these banks, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it on the real estate episode. That's why I started the People's Trust. I'm fed up. I'm fed up with them, man. It's like too much power, too many backroom deals, all this crap. So, you know, it's like when the pandemic hit and they talking about, you know, well, I'm realizing, you know, how the unemployment rate is skyrocketing and everything's just getting shut down. And I'm wondering if, you know, if my tenant's going to be able to pay their rent. I'm just like, okay, well, is there going to be any sort of relief for people that actually own the properties that people are renting apartments in? So I had to call my bank and just see what was up. You know what I mean? You know, it's like I was decently capitalized when this thing all hit, but I was being a little loosey goosey. You know, I'm not a spender, but I didn't have everything sewn up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got caught mid process on like finishing up a gut rehab on a duplex, bro. So you know what I'm saying? I'm caught out there with like a non-performing property at the time. It was grimy, bro. It was grimy. You know what I mean? So I did call them up, like hoping to at least hear something reasonable. but just like, but listening close. And I was just like, okay, you have this thing called forbearance. And then I was just like, okay, so I can suspend my mortgage payments if necessary for this amount of time. I was just like, right. But to me, what would have made sense is, okay, Mr. Haynes, you know, if you need to skip these 2 months of your mortgage payment, what we're gonna do is we're gonna send you, or we're gonna restructure your loan package so that now those extra couple months or whatever get added onto the back of your loan or something.
Right.
To me, that felt like it should have been maybe an automatic part. Like if they're really trying to relieve people where you could actually exhale and not be stressed, to me, that would have maybe been a bit more of a part of it. But because I've been through the housing crisis in '08 and had to deal with the banks back when I had only single families.
So you knew.
I know that they get grimy with it. And I know that if you need to go to them to get anything restructured, that might be their green light to snatch your property from you, or to just dig you into a deeper hole. Yeah. So I was like, I listened close, and then they were like, yeah, if you want to restructure and get that put onto the end of your loan, you're gonna have to fill out this paperwork. I was just like, like a refinance. I was like, so you're gonna be all up in my financial business at a time where like I'm basically hemorrhaging though, because I'm trying to finish this gut rehab. You know what I mean? So I'm writing checks. Could be 5 G's here, could be 8 G's. I mean, it was real checks, real estate. You know what I'm saying? Real estate.
No small checks in real estate.
Ain't no small checks, bro. and if you get away a day or two or a week or two or a month or two where you only had to write small checks, the big one's coming.
Yeah.
Unless you sold your property up. Unless you sold it up. So when I heard that print, I was like, okay, so y'all playing games. And that's why I was just like, yeah, this is another it's like this is gonna be another foreclosure type of scam, because y'all are posing over here like, hey, relief, we care. You know what I'm saying? We really care about y'all. We want to make sure that you don't lose your home, or we're gonna, how can we help you? Every web, it happened so quickly. It went from people not knowing what to do to all big corporations being like COVID relief, and
true.
That word relief, man, comes with a lot of strings attached. Bro.
Deceptive. Yeah, I always thought it was a little hypocritical how so many politicians and banks were having these conversations about forgiving people who rent, but did not even consider how to help the people who own the properties that they rent.
I just don't understand how those two things can even be in a separate thought process.
Yeah, you can't help one without helping the other. Like they passed a moratorium here too, where it's just like I think it was from March 1st until maybe I think last month, you couldn't even file an eviction. You know what I'm saying? And so I know a lot of real estate people was hurting behind that, because there's people, and we know, I got friends who are making more money now on unemployment than they were when they were working, but they not trying to pay their rent because they understand the laws on their side.
Right.
No one cares about the landlords though. They're like, hey man, but they don't know that the bank is staring at you like, please slip. We want to take this property from you.
Yep.
It's grimy, man.
It's ultra grimy, and this, as they say, is how the rich get richer, man. Yeah. Because these banks, I mean, they already got most of us, because they're like, hey, we're gonna give you a 30-year mortgage. How many of us really choose the 15? You know what I mean? The 15 is more reasonable, because you got a chance at staying healthy and able-bodied and earning for 15 years. It's still a bit of a long shot when you consider all the things that could go wrong in someone's life. But 15, but for someone like me, especially where I'm trying to do cash flow, right? So I got some 30-year mortgages, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, they know, man, that the likelihood of someone just not slipping and falling during that 30 years, they already got us with that. Yep. Because they expecting they gonna get it back at some point. It's true. They're like, if we don't get you in this 30 years, you're gonna get old and then not be able to pay your property taxes or something. We gonna get you somehow. Yeah. But with this, but then it's like along the way of that, they got these little tripwires that they put in there. Like, you sure you don't want to cough that up now? Like, it's grimy, dog. It's like the ultra banks are the grimiest.
Yeah, and they don't really answer to nobody.
Nah. Nah, they're unregulated. They're too big to fail, right?
Yeah. It's like me and you fuck up. We lose our house, lose our property, lose everything. They fuck up. They get bailed out.
Yep.
It's
bailed
like
out, bro.
They have all of the reward, but none of the risk.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And the way they present themselves to you would think that there's a bunch of like rocket scientists up in there, like holy, well, you know, because they going to forensically examine your finances before they give you a loan. Yeah. But best believe, I just closed a little refinance on that same duplex, little cash out refi. Incompetence was present, brother. Believe me, on the side of the bank, not me.
Wow.
I mean, I'm talking about like my attorney sent you the title for this property 2 months ago. Wow. And your actions the day before closing have proven that you didn't read it. You don't even know what's on. You don't even know I had a renovation loan. Like I had a second position lien on this. Like you had to clear that with the lien holder. Like, you know what I mean? Like these cats are in here. They posing like they buttoned up and like super tight because of COVID, but they still asleep at the wheel, bro. Like they still ain't no rocket scientists in there. Some of them maybe, but there's a lot of clowns in there.
And if it goes bad, you the one that got to pay, not them.
You're the one that got to pay because they too big to fail.
Yeah, crazy.
Yep.
But yeah, that song is like so good, man. Like this is definitely my favorite song, and I love like the hook because you talk about just like when all of this hits, just the feeling of anxiety that everybody was dealing with, the uncertainty. Like you were looking at it in terms of that. You and I are both touring artists.
Yep.
And so you got to imagine that. I'm going to imagine that you probably had something on the schedule this year that got taken off the schedule. Mm-hmm. I was supposed to release a record in August, and I was going to try to tour from September to Thanksgiving. And you think about with our jobs, we typically plan a year and a half in advance, you know?
Yep.
And just to get into that calendar year and then within a week have the entire industry be shut down financially, it's going to be some anxiety, you know? Like cats were definitely like, yo, what's going on here? I was over here like, yo, I'm glad I paid my house off.
And you're in such a great position, to be in.
I was like, this is dark. We don't know when that thing's coming back.
We don't know. I mean, and even still, it's just like, it's going to be one of the last things to come back.
Yeah.
You know, like when you think of all the essential services and, you know, and now, you know, I know that there's a lot of people performing like over the net and everything like that. And I know some people are doing socially distanced shows if a property has a big enough field or outdoor area. Yeah. But, you know, that ain't going to pop off in the dead of winter, though. Not in the Northeast. No. So, I don't know, bro. It's crazy times, man. But yeah, the whole chorus of that was dedicated to, really, it's dedicated to the people who have been kind enough throughout the course of my career to come up to me and say, hey, you know, your music helped me get through this or this or this. You know what I mean? Like, I've been blessed enough to have a few of those conversations, and at a time of such high anxiety, I was just like, you know what? I need this chorus right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it is a reminder, man. It's so important. Like, there's so many, you know what gets me, Print, is when I hear about young people who take their own life, man. You know, like, because you can think back to when you're like 16, 17 years old, and maybe you had a crush on a girl or something like that. Whatever it was, it felt like it was the world. You know what I mean? Or if you were doing something, you developed some bad habit, you felt like, you know, you couldn't talk to your parents about it because they would have been ashamed of you, or the punishment would have been greater than the reward for expressing your vulnerability or whatever. It feels like the world. And some kids, unfortunately, you know what I mean, they bail out on the process of living, you know what I mean? Yeah. And like in that time, they're not seeing that now is only now. You know, these feelings of anxiety that you're going through now, like when you look back at the course of your life, like let's say you live another 60 years, you know, you pass away maybe when you're 80, like you're probably not on your deathbed even gonna think about this period of time. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe you will, maybe you'll think about, but it's a blip on the map, you know what I mean? And that is what I was trying to say with the chorus on that song. Like, yes, the world has completely shifted, and more likely than not, a lot of things, we might not see the old world again the way we remember it. You know what I mean? We might see a semblance of it, but, you know, a lot of things are going to be different. Yeah. But even in that, man, like, don't get so lost in your anxiety and potentially depression or bad feelings at this point in time that you're going to make now forever.
Yeah.
You know, because when you bail out on life, man, that's a permanent decision.
It's true.
You know,
it's true.
but nah, these are moments. It's a collection of moments that like we can get through if we dig deep enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah,
and I had to use this. Oh, go ahead. You go.
I was gonna say, for those who haven't heard the record yet, the chorus is "Now is only now. Don't drown or lose hope. Bird's eye view to avoid a narrow scope. Grow stronger and determined. That's the way that we cope. We keep afloat. We keep afloat."
Yep.
Very inspiring stuff, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. So now, getting to the end of it.
Yep.
Almost there. Track number 10, The New Normal. Now, this is another one where I say a popular phrase has been lifted and flipped. You know what I mean? Because the new normal is supposed to be something that's uncomfortable, or supposed to be, it's referring to, okay, well, we got to deal with this uncomfortable thing where we're restricted and we're isolated and we're this. And you're saying, you're using the new normal in terms of, no, this dope shit we're making is the new normal.
It's the new normal.
Like that old shit is, we don't want that no more. This needs to be the new normal, which I think is really fucking dope. And
thank you, brother.
This was this the second single or first single? This
is the first single. This is like the official Vanguard mission statement. This is back when me and Stu were just promoting the records ourselves.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we just, you know.
Did you know this was it? This is another one I was like, as soon as you heard that beat, you knew that this was gonna be one of the
I knew that one was
know?
special, bro. I knew that one. I knew that one was special. That's one of them joints, Print, that I was like, ooh. I heard that, I was like, ooh. You know what I'm saying? I set it aside, like, I gotta be in the right zone to write to this shit right here, man. Like, I was like, I really, you know what I mean? And then I think that when everything that happened, and I just felt like, man, like this one right here might be the essence of what Vanguard is, like what it means to me to like be a part of this like producer and MC duo that ultimately I'm trying to honor Gangstar, because they just been so profoundly impactful to me. You know what I mean? Like in my listenership.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, there's been a lot of amazing groups, a lot of them, you know, Public Enemy. Public Enemy was like, when I was like 14, like up through, I mean, for a long time, just profoundly important. But like, kind of like when all the dust settled, like Guru's disposition when he was like in his best places, like mentally and psychologically, like what he put out there, just like some real like grown man wisdom, you know what I mean, on those tracks. And the way, and just the soundscapes that Preem was providing, like if I had to point to anything and be like, that's hip hop, that's what I'm pointing to first.
Yeah.
And like, for me at this point in my career, where it's like, I've been so blessed to be a part of some amazing things, man. You know, it's like, you know, being a part of the Def Jux movement, you know, with LP and you know, and Cannibal Ox and Aesop and RJD2. Amazing. And you know, even before that, lesser known things that were just happening in Boston, that like I was a part of, you know, the Boston scene, finding an identity in well, we had Ed OG, but he was a major label artist. Like it was like the dawning of the independent industry, hip hop industry in Boston. I got to be a part of that, you know, like so many amazing movements that happened. And like hold on, I feel like I lost my train of thought, a little something. But yeah, I think that or being a part of Thievery Corporation as well. Like what a blessing that was, to just be like, okay, you spent mad years in the trenches of underground rap. Now we're gonna bring you on board to really just do what you do, but to just do it in this different context. You know what I mean? And like now, instead of playing, you know, these 1,000-person venues, like we hitting Red Rocks tonight, you know what I'm saying? We need you to go out there, just you the only man on the mic, 10,000 strong, like rock that crowd, you know what I mean? And just those experiences, man, like but I just think that for me, you know, this is about legacy now, and it's like what can I leave behind when I am gone? You know, like Phantom is getting old, you know. Enters the Colossus, and you know, this year is actually the 20-year anniversary of Enters the Colossus. You know, my first EP. You know, And I'm glad that those records exist, but we live in a short attention span era. And yes, these Vanguard records will get old too, but it's just like, if I'm inevitably gonna go out at some point, right? You know, we all get old and we all perish. This is the monument that I'm trying to plant in the soil. Like, I'm putting this here. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys, dust off through the annals of history and you look back and you come across the name Mr Lif, and you looking through what I was able to provide sonically to the world, like, look at this Vanguard shit right here. You know what I mean? That's why it's not just a one album thing. It's a, 2, 3, 4. Where are we at after 4? Is there a 5th? Let's get that 5th. Like, let's leave this thing, as long as it's potent, as long as Stu and I both feel like, hey, we're able to perform at a high level with this thing. That's what it is. And that's what that song embodies, is I'm paying homage to my favorite rap group of all time. And it ended up that DJ Premier was the first person to spin the record on the radio, bro.
Oh, really?
So that was like the highest honor for me. Yes,
that's dope.
Yes,
that's really dope.
Like, I wish I just had that recording of his show, so I could just that's something that I really want. I might have to try to pursue that. Like, hey, do you have that a recording of that? But anyway, I'm putting that out there. Like, look, it's like if I was writing it's like a thesis statement. If I'm writing a dissertation, like, this is the thesis statement. What's Vanguard about? Play that song, The New Normal. Now you know where the origin is from. You know what I mean? That's why it was the first single. This is what it is. It's like, it's hard beats, it's rhymes. We not trying to deal with no fuckery. We coming at you with that raw shit at the essence of the culture, because that's what's important to both of us.
That's dope. That's well said. Yeah, I gotta let you cook on that one.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Yeah, I had a lot to say on that.
Yeah, man. So the last song on the record, the no hitter. Now this one is laid back, but this is my favorite rhyming on the record.
Oh, dope. Okay,
it's like probably the least suspected because it's laid back joint and it's at the end. Man, I love the patterns on here. Just as a rhymer, you're just like, you know what I'm saying? It's osmosis in the name of Moses, flowing till the seas are open. Feel it in your hemoglobin. Tony Baker. I'm from Barbados, not Jamaica. I want to rule in acres. I'm just an alien with human neighbors, booming flavors. Somebody singing that track's brackish. We used a magnet. Attract as though we cracked it on a streaky cabinet. Force a habit, though my thoughts a habit. I took a back hit and running man and then the ride rabbit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I love the patterns, man.
Thank you, bro.
The Tony Baker, what in the haberdashery and hemoglobin reference
Tony Baker. Bruh, Tony Baker on my most gloomy day, that brother could just have me in stitches.
Yeah, man, he's hilarious. But yeah, I was like, the hemoglobin. What in the
brother?
In hemoglobin.
He kills it, man.
On here.
He kills it.
Yeah,
he kills it, man. But that's Print, you gonna kill me for what I'm about to say, bro.
What? You wasn't gonna put this on the record?
That song wasn't on the album, bro.
Of course.
The song was not on the album.
Well, next time y'all know to just call me. Whenever y'all got some doubts about some joints, like, is that gonna work? What would Print think about this joint? I'm over here like, yo, that's my jam.
I might have to take you up on that too, bro. Like, that was going to be the final song on Vanguard 2.
Really?
Yes, it was.
Well, I mean, as long as it wasn't like in the on the cutting room floor, never to be heard. Yeah, I think it's a great way to end it because it's not so heavy. Like, the album is dense and heavy, and it starts to get a little lighter as that last. I guess I'll call it the last act with the New World adjustments forward, right? And that song to me it ends it on just like a cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's just rhyming. It feels good, like some smooth jazzy shit. All right.
Right.
You know, as opposed to, because if you'd have switched the order, well, I mean, you probably could have got away with it, but it's like a lot of the songs in the beginning, I don't think any of those songs would have been right at the end of this record.
Nah, I agree with you on that, Print. Yeah. It's a nice release of the pressure valve, that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Print, much like verse 2 on Wave the Flag, where I was like, I need to allow myself to have a little fun here, you know what I mean? you know, that actually, hold up, that no hitter in this batch of songs was the first one that was written, and it wasn't necessarily written. It's like it was written before COVID, before the bunker studio. You know what I mean? So it's like before I even moved to that house. Yeah. So it just like it was just like genuinely loving one of Stu's beats and just being like, and just the mind expansion that it provided.
Yeah. You were styling on it.
You know what I mean?
Just really styling on it. Nah, that's dope.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
Very fun one.
Yeah,
you know?
and it adds the balance that I think is needed, you know, because you know, we are in a very intense time, but we are still hip hop artists, and as much as we can sneak our messages in, we still have to, you know, educate and entertain. The edutainment still got to be there, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So this is like it helps with the edutainment factor, and like, oh yeah, he still is entertaining. He still can kill you with these patterns right here. Are you listening? You know what I mean?
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Now that one is yeah, man. I you know, it just feels cerebral and a bit reflective too. You know, and it's nice to just be able to kind of like bask in the love of being able to just, yo, thank God for both of us, bro. Like in terms of like, thank God we can rhyme over beats, man. Like
real,
I can't even get into how much that has enriched our lives and the opportunities it's provided for us.
It's true. Hip hop has been one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Ever, man. It's like I mean, you know, for me, it's like my folks, like, thank God for my moms and pops, you know what I mean? And like sacrifices they made to make sure that I was just around well-spoken, intelligent people, you know what I mean? And the disciplines that they either instilled in me or allowed me to develop through team sports, you know what I mean? Team sports played a big role in I think the man I am today. Just, you know, just being able to be a team player, you know? I applied that to Def Jux. I applied that to being a member of the Boston hip hop scene, to being, you know, on with Thievery Corporation. But like, yeah, bro, just the fact that we have this thing that when the chips feel down, we can summon this thing and like get through, not only just get through tough times, but also interpret the times. Like we can actually like capture the times in a way that like package them up and like maybe make it feel fruitful for other people, man. You know, so I'm so thankful to have it, and I feel like No Hitter is just an extension of like kind of basking in the joy of it. Like, oh man, I can do this thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like I have this beat, like the Lord bless me with this producer who just like I can't even keep up with how many fly beats he's sending me, but I got this one right now. I got this one right now. The rest of my family's asleep, and I'm just in this room. You know what I mean? And and I had the ill signal chain set up. I used the API 512C preamp going through. I think I was going through the Tube Tech CL1B because that's my wife's signal chain that I set up for her when I record her. And I was like, man, her shit be sounding good on this. I was like, let me see what's up.
Still her setup.
Let me see what's up. And I just, you know, just sat there and you know, just got lost in that one, man. So it was a nice experience. It was just a nice experience of recording and enjoying and basking in the thankfulness of being able to even do that.
Hell yeah. Well, that's dope, man. So yeah, everybody out there, that's all we got. We done broke down the album from beginning to end, and mad jewels, and like tell the people where they can get the record at, Lif. Tell them where to find you and where to get the record.
Man, they can get the record everywhere. You know, Fat Beats is obviously the hub. They're going to be put, they're the digital hub, but you can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on Apple Music, Tidal. I mean, it is everywhere.
Is it available on vinyl as well?
Vinyl is going to be coming. I got to get confirmation from the label as to how many weeks, or I hope that they're not going to tell me more than a month. I'd love to be able to hit people with that, but you know, there will be vinyl.
Dope.
And that's important to me. I just always love to have any of the creations just kind of like having, you know how it is, print, like you hold that piece of vinyl, you're like, oh man, we made a record. You know, we made a record for real. So but I would just say, you know, people can always go to, you know, catch me on IG, although Sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm a ghost. But like, at the real Mr Lif, they can catch me there. Same handle for Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/Mr Lif. And one of the most important things I think on my IG right now is I have my link tree up there. So if you go to my profile, you click on the link tree, and it's just the hub of all the things that I'm doing and things that I've done. You can go there. You can follow me on Bandcamp. You can follow me on Spotify. You can buy the new Vanguard album. So it's all right there. So click on the link tree, and but yeah, man, I'm just I just feel blessed, Print. Like, this in itself is a blessing. I don't know how many years we go back now, man, but like
a lot. Since 2000, I think, maybe.
Bruh,
maybe
it's just like,
2001. I think I met you at South by Southwest when me and RJ was sleeping on you and Prefuse's floor of y'all hotel.
Oh, word.
I don't know if y'all remember that.
I don't even remember, what I mean?
Had
like
a room, and me and RJ was playing at Soul Position before our stuff came out. No one knew us then, and y'all were kind enough to let us sleep on y'all floor of y'all hotel room.
Bro, I'm telling you, man, like, just so all the listeners know, man, it's real. We go back, we go back. I've been to Prince's crib and been able to congratulate him face to face on his accomplishments. The fact that you free and clear on that crib, man. Like, man. I'm just so happy for you, brother, man.
And last time you was here, we was riding around looking for joints.
Property. Hell yeah, and we found some jewels too, though. We just weren't able to take action at the time. But yeah, brother, I'm just man, I'm just proud of everything you're doing over there, man. The professionalism you approach everything with, the platform you've created. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, man. It's a pleasure, man.
And man, just blessings to you, brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You're welcome here anytime. Whenever.
And that's vice versa.
You know what I mean? You got stuff to promote, just keep me in the loop. And
I certainly will.
You part of the Super Duty, I should call it the Super Duty Network. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is a network. It is a network.
Brothers who are just doing good work and do good music and just good work all around. Professional, dope cats. And to all our listeners out there, support this man. Mr Lif, Stu Bangas Vanguard album is out right now. Go listen to it and listen to the craftsmanship of this record. We talked about a lot of things here that kind of dig deep into the thought process behind that, and we'll see y'all next week.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to Super Duty Tough Work. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Follow the podcast on SoundCloud. Peace.
Shoot, I got styles already that's more complex that nobody know about. I mean, Super Duty Tough Work.